Hello, good evening. It is another Friday night. It is the week after my last wild camp and we are back out again. And if you are an avid wild camping enthusiast, you watch a lot of YouTube videos, I want to assure you that this video does not feature any kind of Nor tent, failing or otherwise. It is just me, a lovely hill in South Wales, a beautiful sunny evening, and a tent I got a couple of years ago on Facebook Marketplace. No, actually, it was Gumtree for £25, and it's an absolutely cracking tent. Really superb little Vango tent. So we're going to have a lovely, peaceful evening. We're going to get a sunset, we're going to get a sunrise. There's a chance it would drop into maybe 2 degrees, maybe just below. So it should be a really pleasant, clear evening. It's quite windy, quite a bit of wind chill. But this is going to be another camp properly in the South Wales valleys. But the views are immense already. Only just left the car really, but parked quite high up. It's not a strenuous walk. But we're going to have sea views to the south and views of the central Bannerbreceniog, the central Brecon Beacon Mountains to the north. And it's just going to be hopefully a great spot. I walked it last week and found a nice pitch, so I'm just hoping there won't be anyone else knocking about, because it's one of those evenings you might get people up on the Trig Point and stuff. But no, I will pop up the hill on the screen because I have no idea how to pronounce it, and even my Welsh speaking daughter had no real idea how to pronounce it, so we're just going to have to read it yourself and try and work out how you're supposed to say it if you want to try and say it aloud. Now, it's not going to be a long walk, and for the first time for a very, very long time, I've actually got some cooking equipment. Now, we're not talking about one of those feasts where you see wild campers with chopping boards and veg and meat and stuff and chopping stuff up. I have got a king pot noodle and a naked chow mein noodly thing as well. So all I'm going to do, hopefully, is just boil some water, take in the views and eat a pot noodle, which I've not done for very many years, so I'm hoping it will bring back joyful memories from my youth and make me feel young again. But certainly this kind of evening, this kind of location, it does make you feel very much alive. And if you have been following any of the Nor tent stuff online, yeah, people get very passionate about gear, about their hobbies and stuff, and how strong their tents are and what kind of conditions they can survive in. But yeah, we shouldn't let it detract from the reasons why we do this. It doesn't matter about your gear. As long as you're camping in conditions that are suitable, you can get away with really, really cheap gear and you can have fantastic camps. You don't have to go up to a summit. You haven't got to go up to a national park. You can just pitch up somewhere, peace and quiet. You haven't got to walk miles, and just sit, relax and enjoy that connection with the outside world and that connection with nature. So tonight is very much about that. It's not a long hike. We've not gone anywhere that you think is glamorous. We've got a £25 tent I got on Gumtree, but we're going to have a cracking evening and enjoy what wild camping is all about. As always, this is another little love letter to the South Wales valleys. You could just head up to the Brecon Beacons. They are up there. You can see Corndy, Penavon, Cribin, Vanabig, and the whole of the central Brecon Beacons mountains from here. You could be up there, or you could be here enjoying those distant views, enjoying the absolute solitude this kind of hill brings you. I've seen one person up here, one cyclist. There's unlikely to be any other hikers knocking about this evening. But the vistas you get in South Wales like this are just incredible. So you get a much sort of bigger variety of views than you would if you just went up to the central beacons. So yeah, really appreciate all the different valleys and different areas. Such a fantastic place. Now I do have some top tips if you want to camp in the South Wales valleys. Obviously the hills are always a good option, but you're going to want to check them out first, because a lot of the hills have cows grazing on them, and I'm not a fan of cows. They do churn up the land a lot, and they also could happily stand on you in your tent or get a bit angsty. So this hill is good because it's nothing but sheep, so the grass is nice and sheep aren't going to destroy your tent, or at least I don't expect them to. Another tip is quite an obvious one, but lots of the South Wales hills are access land, which means you're free to roam wherever you like. So you're free to roam and find a quiet spot to pitch. But on top of that, a lot of the old Welsh hills, before they're access land, were actually commons as well. So generally, I could be wrong, but in my experience, commons don't have kind of owners as such. They're people that can graze on the land and various other access rights, but actually ownership is a bit more difficult. So you're far less likely to be booted off by a landowner on a common. I have walked pretty much all the hills in this part of South Wales. I've now wild camped on a few of them, and one hill in particular I've camped there quite a few times. I've never had a single issue, never seen a single person on any of my camps, and even if you do, it's almost certainly going to be a fellow walker or hiker, so you're not going to run into any issues as far as I'm concerned. All you've got to do is pitch up reasonably late, leave reasonably early, and obviously leave absolutely no trace that you were there. And the final top tip is pick a hill, and most of the hills in South Wales will have this, but some are better than others, that has the mountain views one way, and then you can swing round and have distant sea views looking directly south. The day is so clear that big dark lump in the distance is not cloud. That is England across the other side of the Bristol Channel. So you just absolutely cannot beat the South Wales valleys for those kind of views. Every summit is enhanced by a trig point, I like to think. This is 382 metres. A little bit of breeze, but they give that dropping off tomorrow as well. So it should go still about midnight, I think, reasonably low wind speeds. So I'm not quite sure where to pitch. I looked at a pitch on the other side in the shelter, but it doesn't seem that bad, so I might pitch on the top, but it's probably a fraction early yet. The sunset is not for maybe 25, 30 minutes, so I'll give it a little while in case anyone comes up to catch the last of the sunset, but I might well try and get the pot noodle on. So the Trig Point is just up there. So we've dropped down just because the grass is not very flat up there, very lumpy. So I figured we'd drop down to somewhere where I can pitch up the tent now before it gets dark and get the shelter of the tent to boil some water and have some food. So we have got amazing views north. So got the radio station on the other high point of this hill, so they're both 382 metres. And then through that valley we have got great views of Cribin, Penyvan, Corndee. So we've got the beacons views covered, and then if we swing round, I'm going to pitch the tent facing this way, so the sunrise should be over there. So we've got amazing valleys views. We've got the sea, we've got Cardiff over there, flat home, steep home, views right across the Bristol Channel to England as well. So I'm hoping to pitch a tent facing this way, sheltered from the wind so I can cook some food, and then wake up to a lovely sunrise across the South Wales valleys and all the other hills I've walked. And looking across there now, I can see the hill and pretty much the exact spot where we camped last week as well. So yeah, very glad I made the effort to come out again. It is just an absolutely beautiful evening for it, and more huge views south as well. So down to Garth Hill, one of the biggest hills around this far south above Cardiff. Yeah, what an absolutely fantastic evening for it, and I'm looking forward to using a tent I've not used for a long time. Got a real soft spot for this tent, it's really cool. And the tent in question is my Vango Summit World Challenge Series tent, which I got for 25 quid. It's a beautiful shade of orange, looks great in night photos. Certainly not great for a stealth camp, so I could have picked a stealthier tent to come camping locally in, but I had two tents in the boot of my car tonight. I chose this one because it has a pretty solid inner, so it should be pretty warm, because they give it getting a lot colder than I thought it was going to get tonight. So yeah, we'll get this pitched, and it'll be good to see it out in the field again. So there we are, the orange Vango Summit World Challenge tent. Cracking little tent. It's basically very much like a MSR tent. So it's inner pitch first. It's a kind of single pole in a way. The poles all come off of two hubs, and then you've got the central top pole as well to give it some extra space. Cracking porch area, and you can unzip that and peg it out two different ways. So we can open up the left hand side as we're looking at it now, so we've got the full shelter of the porch to cook in and stuff, and still enjoy all the views. I've guyed it out. It won't need it in this very, very light winds, but yeah, I think this tent can take a little bit of bad weather. I've had it up on a couple of mountain pitches now. One of them was quite a bit of wind, and it's actually hitting back on, which is not ideal, but yeah, I'm hungry. Let's start cooking some food. So as you can see, you can set the porch up with plenty of shelter, and then inside a nice, high, spacious tent, really nice taut inner, and there's enough space because the tent kind of zigs back a bit there to get your bag inside, and then sleep mat along here, and plenty of space for boots and other stuff outside. Absolutely cracking tent. And yes, I really did just pay 25 quid for this. the sun has set. It is pretty chilly up here now. Definitely temperature dropping very quickly. Cold wind. The valleys are starting to light up now with the street lights and the cars. Someone's obviously having some good fires tonight as well, because there's quite a lot of smoke in various different directions, and we can really see the silhouettes of the central mountains and the more western ones as well. So I think I can see Vango in the distance, which is just one of my favourite mountains. Very peaceful up here. I think I've got a really decent pitch, quite flat, so should have a good night's sleep. Tent is just brilliant, loads of space inside, really cosy, and it was really good actually lighting a stove, a little gas stove, because it's been ages since I've done it, and it just, I don't know, the smell, the noise, everything just screams camping. So I'm going to stir the sachet into my pot noodle, and I think I'm going to wander back to the tent and get sheltered and enjoy the last of the views and actually have some warm food for a change. Well, somehow it's 20 to 11. Just getting into bed now. Did a bit of night photography. It's absolutely freezing out there. Really, really cold wind. It's definitely dropped temperature a lot. So it's got to be getting towards 4 or 5 degrees. And the wind chill was pretty nasty. So I'm glad I bought the tent with a nice coziness factor. And I've got my Cedar Summit Trek free sleeping bag as well, which is comfort to -5, which I'm a bit of a cold sleeper, but should be absolutely fine tonight. I've got my light tour winter sleeping mat as well. So yeah, it's been a good evening. The pot noodle was okay, just like I remembered it being a long time ago. It hasn't changed at all. It was nice to have some hot food actually, and the egg chow mein one was okay as well. So it was good to get the stove lit and actually do a bit of warmer food. So yeah, it's been a really relaxing night. I haven't seen anybody, haven't heard anybody. Very, very peaceful. I can hear the road ever so slightly in the distance, but I'm sure that'll calm down at some point as well. But no, really, really nice, cosy little tent. Tons of space. Lovely taut interior as well. So hopefully I'll get a good night's sleep, and hopefully I'll have put the door in the right place to unzip and capture the sunrise, and hopefully there'll be a nice sunrise. So I will say good night and see you in the morning. Well, it was a clear and cold and crisp night with stars and great views. And it is a clear and pretty still morning. Cold. But there was a sunrise. Missed the first couple of minutes of it because I was farting about getting my camera battery changed. Yeah, but I did picture the tent right. The door was facing the sunrise, and the views in every direction. It's a really clear day, which is absolutely brilliant. So yeah, definitely glad I come and pitched up here. I didn't know where to camp last night, but yeah, I made the right choice. I should really get out of bed and have a wander up to the Trig Point and have a look at the morning.
What a contrast to last week's camp, where woke up with just real grey. It's a really grey, misty, damp night. There's not even any condensation on the tent at all today, so there's just enough breeze overnight to stop that from happening. It wasn't much moisture in the air either, so it's going to be really nice putting the tent away, dry, not having to worry about it. The views from up here are absolutely brilliant. Just wouldn't believe you're not very far from Cardiff and Newport up here, and quite a few of the big valleys towns as well. You just a nice little bit of wilderness. I've only really heard some kind of dirt bikes somewhere on one of the hills at some point, I think, not a million miles away. But it seems like I got the hill to myself this morning. There's no one else up here for the sunrise. So yeah, very grateful for that. But it is cold. Yeah, it's not much above 3 or 4 degrees when I thought this morning. But I'll take the clear skies and the cold weather. Hopefully spring and summer will be on its way soon, because the winter's been very, very mild and rainy, but it seems to have, the cold part seemed to have come the last couple of months really, so hopefully the sunshine will warm up today and it will be a good day. But I'm going to get cracking and packed away, I think, and get back early. So it's only about 6:30, 7:15. But yeah, I could easily go back to bed and go back to sleep, but I'm sure Emily will be awake by now, so it's about, 1.5 mile walk back to the car, so time I get packed away, mess about, head back to the car. But hopefully capture some more great views before I do. Well, 7:20, left no trace, that's where we camped last night. Trig Point's just up there. The lowest parts of the South Wales valleys down there, and the sea and the Bristol. The sunrise sweeping round to lots of other hills and distant black mountains, and up to central Brecon Beacons, Pennyvan, Cribin, Corndee. So that's where we were last night. We're going to head a slightly different way back, just to keep things interesting for me. It's going to be a nice walk, only about 1.5 miles. Perfect morning for it. Cool, but sunshine starting to warm things up a little bit. Little bit of dew on the grass, but not a massive amount, given how much moisture there's been in the air recently. And I still haven't seen a soul. So despite it being a nice morning, no one else has decided to venture up. So we've had the hill completely to ourselves. So yeah, I was a bit nervous about this spot. I didn't know how busy it would be. But no, the valleys has delivered once again. And I gotta say, I got a real soft spot for that little tent. It was the first tent I used on my YouTube channel a couple of years ago. I got it for 25 quid off Gumtree, and I was trying to do all my budget camping back in those days. So it was my budget tent to use for a £100 setup, and it's just a superb little tent, really well designed, great height, great space inside, feels really solid as well. When it's guyed out, it feels really secure, not too flappy as well. So I think I can never get rid of that tent. Even though they sell for decent money when they do come up, they're quite rare, but they do come up on eBay occasionally, and they sell for quite good money. No, I can't see myself parting with it. It's too much of an old friend now. As I said last night, this is a twin peak hill, so we're on the second peak now with the comm station, and we're looking north, so we can see the Black Mountain, then Van Gerck, Van Neef, all the way across. Fan far is hidden by the lumps in front. And you've got Penavon, Corndy, Cribben, all the central beacons, and obviously you can see where Craigrim South, where I did the snow camp a couple of months ago. And then in front we've got lots of little hills, so the little lump in front is Penavon, really fantastic hill, really fantastic walk, that one. Twin Brimbachen, and done a wild camp on the craggy outcrop beneath there as well. And just the views today, right the way across, you can see the Black Mountains, you can see the highest point in the Black Mountains from here as well. So just incredible how much you can see. So you can actually, from this viewpoint, see the entirety of the Brecon Beacons from the Black Mountains in the east right the way across to the Black Mountain in the west. So yeah, never underestimate the beauty and the views you get from these valleys. I was doing top tips on camping in the valleys last night, and I suppose this is another one. Just do it on a clear a day as possible, because when it is this clear, you can really see so much of South Wales, and you just get a different vantage point from each of the hills and the valleys. So you go a few miles in a different direction, you just get a slightly different perspective, slightly different angle on the mountains and other views. Yeah, it's just a wonderful place to explore and a wonderful place to live. So you can see the Twin Peaks where we camped, and we are taking a slightly higher route back today, which means we keep all of these views to our left as we walk, and all of these views in front of us. And right over there, I don't know if you can see it, probably not because of the sun, but I can see my car is still where I left it, and just hopefully all the windows are intact, and then it'll be fine, a good way to end the camp. Well, we're not too far from the car now, so I'll wrap up the video. But I would just say that's probably quite a standard wild camp for me in the valleys, and even up in the summit camping in the beacons, to be honest. The wind died down to pretty much nothing, and even when I got there, it was only between 10-15 mile-an-hour gusts. So for 99% of the camping I do, budget tents are absolutely fine. And when I do need to go up risky summit camps and stuff, and I'm not sure about the weather, I've got my Svalbard one, my Nordisk, and I got that 170 quid used, so didn't break the bank either. So if you are thinking about going out and doing wild camping, if you're doing it sensibly, something like the South Wales valleys, and you're doing it when the conditions aren't too bad, then really, as long as you're going to be warm enough in the sleeper system that you've got, most budget tents will be absolutely fine. So yeah, look on Gumtree, look on Facebook Marketplace, find some decent used tents. I've had absolutely loads for less than 50 quid each. I've had a few for less than 20 quid each that are absolutely fine for a lot of camping that you will ever want to do. So anyway, has been a really relaxing camp. I'll be back to the car probably before 8 o'clock, I think, so bit of a result. And I will see you in the next one.